Let's kick show!
So, this here is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Cowabunga Collection. This is a collection of old school Ninja Turtle games, and I've been looking forward for this since before this thing even ever existed. So, let's begin, shall we? Digital Eclipse is very good when it comes to collections. Yo, Justin, what's going on? Alright, so let's get this thing started, shall we? Alright, so here's what we have for this collection, right? This is the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles of the arcade. If anybody grew up in the late 80s, early 90s, this is what made the Ninja Turtle video games became a legend because of this particular arcade game that was in the arcade. Um, this Ninja Turtles, you can play up to 4 players. And this is what I call Let's Go to War. Like, this is the war. This is the beat 'em up of the beat 'em up games. Next, we have the sequel to Ninja Turtle, which is called Turtles in Time. So this is another 4-player beat 'em up of the sequel arcade. This one, they up-notch the play style and graphics and more enemies to face. So you will have a fun time going in space and all that stuff. Next, this is the Super Nintendo version of Turtles in Time, which is called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4. So, Turtles in Time, Turtles the arcade did not really have a sequel. So let me take this back. Let me see. Okay. So this is where we start. This is the classic first ever Ninja Turtle game. If anybody had the Nintendo Entertainment System, you would know how hard this Ninja Turtle game is. So, this is the very first Ninja Turtles. Now, I already explained about the arcade. This is part 2 of the Ninja Turtles for the Nintendo Entertainment System. But because of the popularity of the arcade and how short the arcade was or whatever, they brought the arcade feel, the whole arcade vibe, to the system. So you have the downgrade version of the arcade in the Nintendo system called the arcade game. So this is part 2 of the Ninja Turtles, of which is called the arcade. So this is like I said, this is the Nintendo version of the arcade version that I explained earlier. From part 2, we have part 3. This is also a part of the Ninja Turtle or the Nintendo Entertainment System, which is called the Manhattan Project. I never understood or why it called the Manhattan Project, but nevertheless, it's called the Manhattan Project. I didn't even know what Manhattan was until later on in life. But yeah, this is part 3 of the Ninja Turtle sequels, and this is like I said, this is the Manhattan Project. This is also a part of if you have the Nintendo system. From there, you have the fighting version or fighting game version of Ninja Turtles, Tournament Fighters, and there's like several versions of this Ninja Turtle fighting collection. You have the Nintendo version, there's a Super Nintendo version, there's a Sega Genesis version, and so on. Now, this I do not know nothing about, but we have the Game Boy version of Ninja Turtles, which is called Fall of the Foot Clan. So, I never had a Game Boy, never wanted a Game Boy, but we have the Game Boy version of Ninja Turtles. And from that, we have another sequel of the Game Boy version of Ninja Turtles, which is called Back from the Sewers. So, again, don't know nothing about the Game Boy. Never played this version of the Game Boy. Never had a Game Boy, but we have the Game Boy version, black and white, of Ninja Turtles. And then we have another version. This is part 3 of the sequels of the Game Boy version. Radical Rescue. Like I said, don't know nothing about this. I've never had a Game Boy, so there you go. And as I explained earlier, this is the arcade version of the Ninja Turtles. So anybody grew up from the 80s and 90s, you would know about this, which this is what I'm going to be playing in a few minutes. And then you have Turtles in Time. And then going into the sequels, they declared this part 4 of the Ninja Turtle sequels. So you had 1, 2, 3 in the Nintendo version. Then we went to the Super Nintendo, and this is part 4 of the Super Nintendo version, which is called Turtles in Time. So this is the Super Nintendo version of Turtles in Time. So you have the arcade version and you have the Super Nintendo version. And like I said, this is the Super Nintendo version of the Tournament Fighters. So this is Ninja Turtles fighting game. And then we have the Sega Genesis Hyperstone Heist. So this is part of the Sega Genesis. I don't know too much of this. I'm not even sure what version of the Ninja Turtle is this, but this is the Sega Genesis. And then again, you have the other version of Tournament Fighter, but this is the Sega Genesis. And we're back to number 1 with the very first Ninja Turtles. So there you have it. All 13 versions of Ninja Turtles history. And from there, as I'm going along, you see all these different comic strips of Ninja Turtles, because Ninja Turtles started out as a comic. And then from the comic, they got their popularity through the cartoon series of Ninja Turtles, and there we go. Before I go into the game, online service. So, what I found out is in the online service, so basically, if I don't have nobody to play with and I want to play with other people, I could do that. I could go into the same game, but like, if you remember, like back in the arcade days, if you're playing a game like this and you're by yourself, and somebody was like, "Hey, can I come in and join you?" And like, yeah, you can join me. Somebody go ahead, pop their quarters, and where you at right now, somebody could join right back in. So this is what the online version pretty much is. You could just jump in wherever somebody is playing. And so just like, lobby and everything, whoever's online, you could jump in and play Ninja Turtles with other people. So this is the Turtles layer. So as I was telling you about the games, this is where all the boxes. So you have like I said, Ninja Turtle for the Nintendo, the Japanese version, the arcade version. These are all like if you go into like the arcade store, Blockbuster, trying to rent a game and everything, you'll be seeing this right there. So of course it's the Japanese version. So we got 2 versions. We got the US version, and then we have the Japanese version. So and of course the Manhattan Project. Tournament Fighters, Game Boy box, more of the Game Boy box. There you have the Super Nintendo. I don't know anybody had the Super Nintendo back in the day, but I sure did. And these are the different versions of the Tournament Fighters. Then we have the Sega Genesis. being that we're now living in the days of you buy a game, you open a game, you see the little disc or cartridge. Back in the day, we had manuals. So if you want to know arcade game, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And for this game, I am going to play Donatello.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Turtle power.
I didn't like the fact that they changed the music. I don't know if it's copyright version, like copyright, not copyright, but license issues or whatever be the case. So I don't know. But with that said, this is what you see in the arcade. I'm just gonna let this ride for a second. And with that,
Teenage Mutant Ninja. Cowabunga.
let's go to war.
Fire. Hang on, Nico. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Turtle power.
Luckily, I could add life to this, so I'm good on life. What you doing? What you doing? Get the fuck back. Bitch. Just like the arcade. Now, if you didn't know, the person who actually played Shredder was Uncle Phil from Fresh Prince. Yes, sir. I didn't know that either until later in life. Now, if you played this back in the day in the arcade, this is like, this was so addictive that, like, this was a quarter eating machine. Like, your life, I had to do that. Like, your life be draining so bad to the point where you want to continue playing this game, and so you want to make sure you have your quarters ready. And I realized, like, I didn't realize what New York was before I lived in New York. So, this is me not knowing New York at all.
You are dead. Still playing things getting in prettier. Watch your mouth. Blindfold.
Like, when you get to this stage here, this stage was so hard. Like, when you fight this boss, you're gonna lose money. You're gonna lose money bad. I want to pause. Not what I want. I want to pause right quick. Yeah, I want to pause right quick. And to show how it could get crazy. I'm gonna do the online version. I'm gonna play this in the online version, and so whoever jumps in, jumps in. So, I've started my lobby, and so whoever jumps in, so I'm saying this right now, if you have a PlayStation 5, and you have this game, just jump in the lobby, OG Mike slash full OG slash Mike 407, and we go to war. So I don't know if any of these people have, but you know. But like I said, whoever's watching, whoever got this game on the PS5, you want to jump in, and go to war. So I'm gonna start this game over, and this is now lobby.
Cowabunga! 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 Fire! Hang on, Echo.
Good night, sugar.